Hi there and welcome to another video of MeasureSchool.com, where we teach you the data-driven way of digital marketing. My name is Julian, and on this channel we do marketing tech reviews, tutorials, and the occasional first look at a new analytics tool just like this one. So if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. Now, today we're going to talk about Yandex Metrica. Now, it's not a new tool per se, but something to check out really if you are in the space of maybe looking out for a new tool and see what the difference is between Google Analytics and maybe Yandex Metrica or the other solutions out there. Now, Yandex Metrica is completely free. You can download it, not download it, you can install it onto your website, also with Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, because it's just simply a little JavaScript code that is working on your website. Now, let's dive into what we're going to talk about today. And we are just going to compare a little bit of Google Analytics to Yandex Metrica. There are always different approaches to do things in the analytics world, and so we can discover the differences. Okay, let me make myself a little smaller here. And as I mentioned, Yandex Metrica is totally free. It's a solution that was developed by Yandex. Now, Yandex is actually the Russian search engine giant, comparable to Google in Russia at least, and they have built an analytics tool just like Google did, or Google didn't build one. They actually bought a tool back in the day. So this is something that we also want to check out because it is hyped as the Google Analytics alternative. Now, what does it actually provide? Obviously, web tracking data. I haven't dug too deep into the specifics of any kind of other data. They have an API, so you can probably send in data from other tools, but it's mainly based on the JavaScript code that you install onto your web page, which is done which you can do through Google Tag Manager. This is something I have done a few weeks ago, so I've gathered a little bit of data for Measure School. So once we log into our account, we can actually look through the dashboard here and see what is new in our account. It is actually now from a visual perspective different from Google Analytics, obviously. But the information that is gathered still works through JavaScript. So JavaScript is executed when the page loads and is sending data into Google Analytics. Now, into Yandex Metrica, not Google Analytics, but into Yandex Metrica. And there the page will get analyzed. I guess they also are heavily cookie-based, and that's something, don't take my word for it, but I think they're heavily cookie-based. And in the end, they can then tell you how many users were on your website, if these users were new, and where the user came from. I guess this is something that I would need to find out. They also are taking the standard of Google Analytics with the UTM parameters. So we'd be able to, let me see, or can we go into the help? Okay, I can't really see it just by looking through the API, but probably taking the UTM approach as well, and are taking this data to see your traffic sources, but also obviously looking into those referrers and then putting you in the right category. Now, in terms of definition, you might know that Google Analytics heavily has a model that actually puts a very specific viewpoint on your data. So it gives you a model that is mainly separated in page views, sessions, and users, and then it calculates a lot of metrics from there. So for example, the bounce rate is a metric that is calculated with a session that only has one page view. So it doesn't matter if the user comes to the page and how long he actually stays on a page. If he doesn't go on to the next page, this will be counted in a bounce as in Google Analytics. As a bounce in Google Analytics. That way. Now, I have read a little bit about Yandex Metrica, and they actually define the bounce rate differently. So if we Can we actually go to the bounce rate here? Yep. Do they have any kind of definition? Here's the bounce rate. The bounce rate of sessions during which at least one page view lasting less than 15 seconds took place. So they have a very strict time limit. If the user comes to the page and doesn't do anything within 15 seconds, he will be counted as a bounce. If he later on then goes to the next page view, he will not be counted as a bounce, but only these 15 seconds count. So Google Analytics, if it's a long page, will count the user as a bounce if he doesn't go to the next page, and Yandex won't do that. So a little bit differences in how they view the data, and therefore this is something you need to be aware of. Now, in terms of then putting it into reports, now you know in Google Analytics we have this slew of reports right here. How can we find them in Yandex? Now, here under the reports tab, we can actually find different reports, and with the standard reports that also are in Google Analytics. So really anything that you can think of. Now a little bit different reports maybe that you might be used to. So for example, here is an ad blocker presence report. This is something you could probably also get in Google Analytics, but you would need to build it in. So Yandex gives you a little bit more data around this topic of ad blocking, which is great. So ad blocker not in use, blocker in use on my page at least. It seems like it's a very high percentage without a blocker. So that's great. Now, in terms of then digging deeper into the data, we can always look into, not here, no. So if you click on it, it's actually just one of the dimensions gets taken away from this visualization up here. But I saw in a different report, so the report that I always look up when I look at the in Google Analytics is the traffic report. No, not this traffic report, but the traffic sources report. So where can we find that? Here are the sources, and let's look into the summary. And here we can look into, here we have a little plus sign, so we can dig deeper and go deeper into the dimensions. I like how they do this here. Some people always think that they can't really click on the links in Google Analytics, and so they don't know what happens when they click on them, and they actually go deeper into the dimensions, and this dimension then becomes the main dimension that gets broken down by the sub-dimensions. So here, nicely solved with this pop-up menu, or this plus sign. But generally we have the same data available. Now, one thing that I look always out in Google Analytics are goals actually prepared. So here we have goals, and I didn't define any goals, but you can define goals in the settings here. So if you go to the settings, we have here our goals, and I took a sneak peek at this. Now on Measure School itself, an email sign up would probably be a goal. We could track this as a page view, so a specific page, but I also saw that we can here input JavaScript events. So the same as events that we have in Google Analytics could also be tracked here, which is really cool. Now they also have this multi-step goal, so if the user goes through a progression, and the cool thing here is that we also have events available in these goal conversions, which is not the case with Google Analytics. So if you put in a goal funnel into a goal in Google Analytics, you can only choose page views for that. So if I put in another step here, here is another step. Okay, add a step. Okay, yeah. So you can mix and match goals, but also URLs with the steps that need to be taken in order to reach a goal. Very cool. Definitely something that Google Analytics can also implement at some point. That would be great. Okay, now we have all these reports, and you probably can dig deeper into one or the other. The cool thing also, you can put in favorites. So if you look at a report pretty often. Now, when we go to search engines, the interesting part should be that we get better analytics data on Yandex, obviously, right? So we have Yandex here, and there are only 2 sessions that actually happened. And we actually get the keyword that the user put in order to find us here. So that's great. If Yandex is one of your biggest sources, you might as well install this tool because you get the data right from Yandex. Okay, that seems to go great. Now, one thing I couldn't quite figure out. Okay, here we have the dimension. So this is these are like the secondary dimension picker. So I could go in and say, can we go in and say keyword? Last keyword. Okay, let's put this one in. Apply this. And now we should get... okay, so once the user digs into one of these results, he should go even deeper and can go to the last keyword right here. So it doesn't really show you a secondary dimension, but you can break down by this secondary dimension. Differently solved in Google Analytics. Again, that's just an interface thing, but you can basically do the same things. Now, also on the metric side, you can probably change this around and say, I want to know page views. Okay, right. So let's add that to our report. And here we also have our page views. Cool. So far, nothing really out of the ordinary from what we have in Google Analytics. I mean, different visualizations of your data here, which is also nice. Attribution modeling. First visit, last visit. So the attribution modeling is obviously built in directly into the tool where Google Analytics, the standard reports are based on last click attribution. So here we have last visit, first visit, last significant click-through. Okay, whatever that means. That it's something I probably would need to look into further in order to see how that would impact my data. Now we also have segments. So there is a segment builder here, and we can use a segment, so recently used predefined segments. So let's see, we just want to see people who came from search engines, such just the search traffic. Obviously we are in the search report, so that makes a lot of sense. Let's go into the popular content here. Okay, and now we are still in the search traffic, yeah. So this is all search traffic, and if I get rid of this, we have more. Okay, that seems great. See here, there's an accuracy tab. Apparently they also do some kind of, not segmenting, some kind of sampling here. So that's something to look out for if you actually care about this and if you have the traffic. Obviously I don't have the traffic in this account yet. Now I want to see how I can actually... okay. So this is actually the segment builder, I guess. So if I say I want to only view sessions which came from the referrer YouTube. Okay. Actually apply this. So now we have a YouTube segment, and we can save that as YouTube traffic. Cool. Okay, so they have a segment builder, and it is a bit different from Google Analytics, obviously. Now you can look through the characteristics or the different dimensions here and see how they actually input this data. Interesting. Now, I think this was built with Google Analytics in mind, or of a Google Analytics user who said, okay, we have the data set as well, let's put that in. Now, it is different definitely from Google Analytics, but somebody who looks at this will get used to it pretty fast, I would say. Cool. Okay, now let's look at some of the more out of the ordinary, not so comparable to Google Analytics things that are on Yandex Metrica. And these are really here in the left side. We have these different features. Now, first of all, we have maps here, and there are link click maps. We can just click on that, and we go to our website. We see our website in the background, and it actually tells us here these links were clicked. So how many links were clicked? Apparently it looks at either looks at a click, which would be a lot of data, or it just does the same as Google Analytics and looks at the actual page path that was seen. So it looks at the different page views, and then it was what is the link and what was clicked. So I'm not sure if I have multiple of the same links on this page. Contact, no, well, home is actually, now the interesting part would be to see whether it correlates the right link clicks, or it's just takes the page views and sees whether we have gone through this link. Now, okay, this is the link map. Let's see at what is the click map. Okay, so here it actually tracks links, clicks, apparently. No, it doesn't show me anything. So it's just, this is just a visualization of where people think they could click. So maybe they click on here. Okay, can give you some insights. Very qualitative data, right? I wouldn't say that somebody could go in and do a huge data analysis out of it, but looking at it from a case-by-case basis on your landing page makes a lot of sense, and you can get some insights. Okay, the scroll tracking, very nice. And then the form analysis. So what is this all about? No data. Okay, there's no form on this page. So let's go to interaction, and then we can actually click around. So I'm gonna go to, let's go to this link. So there's actually a form, and now I should be able, oh yeah, okay, neat. So people have visited this page, and then they engaged with the form, and 3 people left. Now I wonder how that would look like on a bigger form, such as my checkout form. That's something I would need to check. Unfortunately, you need to log in. I'm not sure if if Yandex actually can do this whole kind of login stuff. That's something I would need to try out at a later stage. Okay, so that's all about the maps. Pretty interesting data on top of your website. Now, especially the form data is not something that you easily get. This actually reminds me a lot more of the feature set of Hotjar than Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics gives you a lot of quantitative data, and here it's mostly based on qualitative data, click data, heat maps, and so on. Useful data nonetheless, something you want to do on a page-by-page basis, but probably not something you're gonna go into and report on every day where the clicks actually came from and so on. But nonetheless, very useful. Good for ad hoc analysis. Then we have session replay, again a feature that I'm also familiar with from Hotjar, where people actually, people from YouTube came to my site, and this guy stayed for minutes. What did he do? So we can actually play a video of what he was doing on our website, and we can speed through it as well. So let's see what he's doing here. So he's reading through all the information and clicking on terms of service. Okay, interesting. That site is probably not too optimized for him. I'm not sure. Okay, going to the product type. So interesting to see this, because, he's probably interested in Google Sheets. Interesting to see this again, very qualitative data, right? Not probably something that you would do on a reporting basis, but probably something you would be doing if you want to do some CRO, conversion rate optimization. What are the user paths? How do they go through my website? What are they interested in? Getting some qualitative data. Oh, interesting. So there's a video missing, something we need to fix. Now, he's checking out all the courses. Good boy. All right. Yeah, again, this is probably something you would do on a case-by-case basis. If you say there must be something wrong. Okay. I'm still here on the segment of YouTube traffic. So if I get rid of this, I can see people who are not from YouTube probably entering my website. Interesting. Now, as I said, I have heard people using this feature very heavily if they identified that there's something wrong in their checkout process, for example, or some drop-off rates. So they go in and they say, okay, I only want to look at this particular page because the drop-off rate is so high. And this can be super valuable if you just look at one session if you can just look at one session or one user that goes through this website. So let me see if we can actually recreate this here by saying behavior, page view, view URL was, let's say, measure school, let's say /products. So here we go. So now we should have only users who went to actually the product page. Now, it would be useful if I could just see the product page and not all the other pages. Probably that's not the case. Here we can go to the actual product page and see how the user actually interacted with it on just this page. So I think that's pretty significant feature. So he didn't find anything useful and went back. Now it would be cool if you could chain your different session replays and look at all of them in one go in order to identify the problem. But that's not something that is available. Apparently, maybe I'm wrong and you can tell me better. Okay, then we have here the segments tab, and the segments tab probably only shows you the segments that you have actually put into your report. So here is where you can see your segments, and if I click on that, what will happen? Okay, I just go back to the sources summary where I built this segment. Okay, that's basically already it. Now, there are obviously in Google Analytics, but also in Yandex Metrica, a lot of customizations that you can do. And I'm always really interested in those customizations because there's where Google Analytics actually falls apart or comes together in some parts. So how can you actually send in different data types? How can you be pulling out the data? What can you actually put in? And my camera just went off. That sucks. Let me see if I can just switch over. So Test, test. Okay, now you should hear me. Yes. All right. So what did I tell you in the last 5 minutes? I looked at the API and told you, yes, you can pull data out of the API. You can also manage your account with this. So that worked. And then I looked into the settings and I saw that there is an option to actually tell that you should be looking at the data layer, which was put in accidentally by myself when I set this up, apparently, or the Yandex Metrica code actually identified this. And then we went ahead and I actually looked at this report here and saw that I had conversions in there. So I have my orders already in there, although I didn't consciously tell Yandex Metrica to pick that up. So here are all my orders, and we can see what the user bought, the Google Analytics setup course. So this is pretty cool because we don't have to change anything over from what we have in Google Analytics. We have the e-commerce tracking installed. Now the question would be if this is all happening. Here is the data. Okay, enhanced e-commerce. Okay, this is in Russian. Obviously something that I don't speak. Now, this would be interesting if we can change that language so we can read how we should be doing this. All right, where's the... Anybody speak Russian? It's probably a login link. This is probably the home link. Okay, let me translate that through Google. Demo counter. That's pretty comprehensible, actually. Okay, so they also have their data layer objects and their product name. So they just took that out of the Google Analytics data layer, and apparently it seems to work. So we have that data as well in Yandex Metrica, which is pretty cool to see that this is actually possible to just build on the Google Analytics model and take it out this way. Okay, what else? Do we have anything else? Let me think. As I said, Yandex Metrica can be installed right away through a little bit of JavaScript. Now, with that JavaScript, you can always customize stuff. So if we look at this counter code, we actually also should be able to see no, session replay, goals. So with the session replay, okay, filters, we have filters available. Notifications about problems. Okay, and we can upload data as well. So that's pretty great. So yeah, I guess for now, that's it with this video. If you have questions right now, then I'm happy to take your questions. Okay, Dennis actually says something. Login right top, okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, then let me know. I hope I can answer them. Maybe I can also get my camera to work again. That would be great. So if you can think of any questions right now, then let me know. Stay on Yandex here. And I'm gonna try to revive my camera. Let me see if that actually works. Haha. Okay, we are back in business, so to say. So that should work again. And let's actually pull up the chat here for a second and see what questions people have. Not too many, but some people are online. That's pretty cool. So nice tool, nice tool. Okay, we have pretty much a delay here, so I can see myself now. Let's see. Well, if nobody has questions, then I hope this was useful to you. And yeah, does our website get so heavy? So a lot of people say that this whole session replay thing can get quite intensive. Now, it also depends on the technology that is used here. So the question is really if this is that easily. Let me just pop that out, otherwise we get screen and screen all the time. Pop-up chat. Does that load? Yeah. We get too many. We get a lot of overhead on our performance of our website, and it depends on how this actually works. So do they just record your mouse movements and then overlay later on what you could have been seeing? Or does that happen through another technology? And that's why a lot of people say, okay, I don't want to record every user that comes to my website, but rather just a few. So that's something you can take into account and test. I would say test it, because I can't really tell you if this is really a big overhead. I haven't tested it on our website, at least. Yeah. So we have Russians here. Yes, Yandex. To be honest, to just give you my verdict, I'm pretty impressed. I think that it's a very workable solution, especially if you think about well, I don't want to tell you that it's a bad tool, but I wouldn't say it's a total Google Analytics alternative. But if I look at the feature set of Hotjar, I would be scared, because there's a lot in there that Hotjar already does and Google Analytics doesn't do. Now, in terms of like comparing these two tools, I think that Yandex probably has the same data in there. They can also analyze it, and it looks powerful enough to actually work with it. I think that smaller businesses, especially, who are actually looking in their analytics by themselves, a lot of confusion is taken out of Google Analytics here and put into qualitative data like the click maps and so on, so people have something to look at and actually get a little bit of insights out. Google Analytics can be really, really or very quickly can become overwhelming, because you just see graphs and data, and if you don't know what it actually means, then you better go off to a professional and let them analyze your data. Now, the question is always, we are all used to Google Analytics, so the system might be different. So we have to compare how they actually interpret our data that is sent into the system. And that's something we should definitely look into before we switch over, so to say. Now, if you want to try it out, it's just a JavaScript code away. If you have Google Tag Manager installed, you just pop it in there and it actually gets your data in, and then you can start working with it. Now, one of the things that is a little bit of a stigma, I guess, a little bit of a disclaimer, Yandex is a Russian company. They are probably like any bigger country, same as Baidu, and if you look at Baidu and Google, probably for that matter, in the US, is controlled or is in the restriction of this country, right? So you have Russia, who is not known for the privacy laws. I would say that, for that matter, US isn't either. Now, if you are afraid to sending your data to the US, maybe Russia would be a good place. Now, Baidu has the same thing in China with, they also have analytics tools out there that the Chinese government probably strictly controls. So that's just something to be aware of. I don't want to get too much into the politics here. But data privacy is actually a big part of Google Analytics, building in Germany, or in Europe at least, this anonymized IP feature. So this data type can't be sent over to US servers, because it would be under privacy laws of the US, and you might be liable for that, or Google might be liable for that, and they don't want to have that data in their systems. So yeah, it gets pretty messy, and if you're a bigger company, you probably need to look into that if you want to be sending your data to those services. Is it useful for e-commerce sites? I would say yes. When we just looked at the reports there, you have all the e-commerce reports in there. Now, how complex does it get? What can you do? Like enhanced e-commerce tracking and Google Analytics is pretty powerful, right? So if you have it completely installed, can you recreate it in Yandex? That's something I haven't checked out, but I think that Yandex has the basic types of a goal setting, the session analysis, and then you can port that over. So that works as well. All right. So Yandex is officially registered in Netherlands. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Well, that's good to know. Okay, I stand corrected. So Yandex is registered in the Netherlands. Who knows what that means? Probably Google. Well, Google is a US service, but they also put their money somewhere else. All right, guys, if you have any kind of more questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, then consider subscribing right over there, because we'll bring you new videos every week. Now, my name is Julian. Till next time. Bye-bye. Where can I go over? Stop.